This is a call to change. Human rights abuses in the United States of America. The beatings that are taking place in schools, what they term and label corporal punishment. That was one of the most terrifying times of my life growing up, being exposed to that. Of course, it happens on the home front. In this life, my parents did not do that to myself or my sisters. However, I could have been born into other lives where it did happen to me. I did witness it happening to neighbors. I hear the screams from the neighbor's house as a child. So to me, it's like, just like they say, secondhand smoke. Well, it's secondhand terror. I was terrorized by the screams coming from the neighbor's house, and I was helpless, couldn't do anything about it. I was a child. What was I supposed to do? You tell your parents, they throw their hands up in the air saying that they can't do anything. Family members, uncles and aunts of mine who did it to cousins around me, and it was very disturbing. It was to be a witness to that was disturbing. It's like I have PTSD literally from witnessing that. I mean, I'm a sensitive being, and to have been exposed to that as a child, it just was very unclean and unhealthy, and it was not good for my development, in my opinion. In the school system, to be threatened in amongst the entire class as I was. I mean, the only thing that got me through it on some levels was my parents saying, I'm not going to say the only thing, but my parents would always boast of how they would sue the school. My mom would say she would sue the schools. It remains to be known if she would actually have done that. That's what she said, and of course I spread it around to all my friends. My friends would make comments about it, but okay, so that's the one main issue that is just horrible. Whether you want to call that violent, or I hope that most would see how that is sexually tied when you're doing that to someone on an erogenous zone of their body, and what it does and what it connects to and everything in the brain and everything about it. It's a perversion. It's a gross thing to do that to children. It's like any other form of molestation of a private part. It's just that for whatever reason, this one was deemed more acceptable. We could have come upon a tribe of people who would fondle the breast of children. And my question to people is, well, all the ones who are saying that it's their right as a parent to spank their children. Well, my question is, okay, well, if you want to claim that, and you come upon another tribe that fondles the breast of children, and they claim, just as you do, that that's their right to do that as a parent, are you going to let that slide? It would be kind of hypocritical, though, if you would try to intervene and stop them from fondling the breast of children while you're fondling the private part, rear end of a child, right? As a man, I'm taught growing up kind of that I have two private parts. I don't need to, right? The front region and the back region. A woman, a female girl, right? She has three. She has front, back region, and then upper region here, right? So that's at least what I kind of was taught growing up, and if someone wants to debate that, they can, but those are private parts. Why in the world would you be claiming that you're punishing a child by doing that to their private part? That's beyond me. Okay, so that's one major human rights abuse that I'd like to see ended in the United States and the rest of the world. First, I'm an American citizen, so I speak here in America today. Some other countries already maybe pulling ahead of the U.S. on that one. Druggings. Today, they detain people without charging them with crimes in what is known as, or under practices and procedures of what they term the mental health system. To me, it's an injustice in the detainment level in that it seems like they circumnavigate the protections which are put into the Constitution Bill of Rights, where it says, no one should be held arbitrarily, so to speak, and you should have access to a fair trial by jury. Someone who's just spiritually expressing themselves or freedom, if they're not wronging anyone else, if there's no victim, or if there's no threat towards anybody, well then why are they being interfered with? And if there is a threat or if there is a victim, well then we should have our laws drafted so you charge someone with a crime. Okay, so that's one thing where people are being, in one aspect of that. Now the other aspect of that system is there's some people who literally use that system to, quote unquote, get away with murder or any other variety of crimes, rather than running people through the criminal justice system where they should be held accountable and responsible for what they did. They're put through this mental health system. It's very, very disgusting. Okay, now after you're detained, imagine being force drugged with very powerful, painful, mind-altering substances against your will. I mean, it's just disgusting. Imagine being forced to the ground, having your pants pulled down, having a syringe shoved into you, and then being left there lying on a cold concrete floor. Well, that's what happened to me. Now, other people may have had it done to them in a bed. It happened to me. They put it into my arm in another instance, so obviously that was an extreme example. I think they wanted to do it for the show. It's not funny. I mean, I know my life's a setup. Here I am giving this presentation. In some cases, some people had their brains electroshocked out and further lobotomized. Go in and surgically remove parts of people's brains or damage parts of people's brains. I mean, who in their right, mind would condone that? That's the whole point. It's like the people doing it. If anybody is said to be, quote unquote, out of their mind, you would think it's these people who are doing these treatments and behaviors to people against their will, these forced medical procedures, right? Okay, now I'm coming to, that was the second human rights abuse I wanted to draw attention to, and now the third is something that's quite ironically something that helps deal with the stress and the trauma of these first two examples that I illustrated to you, and that would be cannabis, marijuana. Some refer to it as pot or weed. Herb, I like the term herb because it's really just like an herb, right? Or a flowery head, some people call it flower. Cannabis, marijuana. To me, it has been very healing in that I believe, the trauma, the PTSD that I suffered from this being exposed to this child beating system and just other, these other stressful events that I have documented beyond this video in my life, it helps a person deal with that sometimes. I believe it can be a valuable tool with the right level of counseling for anger management. It has helped me personally with nausea and headaches, certain types of headaches. In general, marijuana just sort of eases the mind. At least that's how overall I would say is what it has done to me. I don't want to say the mind. It just eases you. It has helped me. Again, though, just really want to shine the light on this simple statement. If there's no victim, well, then you can't call something a crime. You can't. I'll say that again. If there's no victim, then there's no crime. So all these people who have been erroneously labeled as criminals, what are we going to do about that? New policy and a new direction of saying we're clearly going to be going after people here who are victimizing people. And if we did that all along with our laws and our law enforcement, just think of the more beautiful world that we would see today. If every dollar that was used to target and incarcerate people who are nonviolent drug offenders, where there's no victim, no corruption of a minor, no public endangerment, every dollar that's used to target that group of people, imagine that dollar being shifted instead to go after the rapists, the murderers, the car thieves, the vandals, the fraud doers, you know? We would be in such more of a blissful world. We'd actually have the real criminals put in prison, and the innocent people would be free. Our society is in shambles. It makes me feel bad every day as a result of what's taking place. I got like this weight on me. So anyways, I hope that we can change together and move forward in a beautiful fashion. I thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation today and to hear this. You really didn't need to watch my ugly face. You could have just listened in. Thank you, and hope and great peace.